Hello, my friends. Andy Kennedy here today with another episode of All I Learned From. And I don't have any books today to show you because there are too many books that this man has written for me to even begin rattling off. The All I Learned From today is going to be about Wayne Dyer. And Wayne Dyer was one of my very first teachers in spiritual awakening. And absolutely, I mean, he's probably one of the most quoted, one of the most recognized, and one of the most extensive authors on spiritual growth and the New Age movement of the better half of this century, this last century. And his very first book was written in 1975. He wrote several books in the 70s. And many more in the 80s. I don't even know how many books he's written. I think it's definitely over 30 books. In addition to books, there are audio books and audio workshops and so many things. Of course, Wayne Dyer passed away in 2015 and had quite a long struggle with cancer. Had cured himself of cancer, actually, and did not die of cancer, although he did have leukemia living in his body at the time of his death. Now, the couple of books that are standouts for me are Getting in the Gap and The Power of Intention. Of course, there are many more. The Shift, Staying on the Path, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. Actually, that is one book that's in our house that is in our guest bathroom that my husband reads from often. He's got countless videos as well. And really is just, a magical, magical man. And now I know he's helping us from across the void. So today, what I am going to talk about, though, as this series is what have I learned from Wayne Dyer? And I can't sum it all up in the 6 or 7 minutes that these videos have been. But here are some of the things that I have learned from Wayne Dyer, especially from the two books I mentioned, Getting in the Gap and The Power of Intention. Wayne Dyer led me down the path of so many other amazing writers. So his connection, his connectivity to the whole greater source of quantum knowledge is vast as well. And he's even got a movie out there too. So check that out. But number one is that everything is Dharma and to live by your Dharma. And I absolutely love this practice of his, because it is the foundation kind of one of our courses, Doing Your Dharma. And if you don't know the meaning of Dharma, the simple version is purpose, your life's purpose. And so he was always about living through what your God gifts are, what your intention for reincarnating this time around was. So that is definitely at the forefront of his. One of his favorite sayings is for ego, being, we all know, the definition of ego, but his abbreviation for ego, or his acronym that he uses ego for, was edging God out. And so that's one of the things that still resonates with me. And I can tell when I'm in ego, I am edging God out. He also teaches a depth of compassion. Telling us even to love our enemies, because, of course, in those messages, in that mirror of our foes, so to speak, or our strongest and harshest sometimes teachers, is a way to forgiveness. And forgiveness is such a amazing path towards spiritual enlightenment as well. So, another one is The Power of I Am. And in his book, Wishes Fulfilled, he uses I Am to invoke the spirit, the source, God, and the energy of the divine. And he also has that way of teaching that is understandable. And so when he talks about I Am and living in I Am, it's really about the simplest version of just that, just letting go of that. One of the favorite teachings from Getting in the Gap for me is the I Am concept. And the gap is the gap between the thoughts, right? So, we're having 80,000 thoughts a day. I say this often. And in those 80,000 thoughts a day, a large percentage of them are negative, right? So 80, 60s, 80s, at best 50% of them are negative, but at worst it's more like 80%. But there is always a gap between the thoughts. And so his teaching is, if you can get into the gap, if you can get into that source, that space, that quietness that is of the divine, and we can edge our ego out instead of edging God out, then that is the teaching of the gap. He also teaches about letting go of false ideas. And this is something that I bring into the Manifesting with Synchronicity course. There are 3 additions. So the Manifesting with Synchronicity course is based on the Celestine Prophecy. If you've been following my stuff, you know that. I've been teaching this course for about 8 or 9 years now. And yet, I do believe there is more to the spiritual growth than just that one book. Of course, because James Redfield read a countless library of books to write that book. But I am just so in gratitude for the 3 teachers that I add to this course. And one of them is Wayne Dyer. So quite often I bring up his teachings in the Manifesting with Synchronicity. The other 2 are The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, Dan Millman, and the Course in Miracles. And so, and Wayne Dyer is maybe one of the first people that introduced me to the Course in Miracles, because it was one of his foundation teachings as well. So letting go of false ideas. So false ideas are habits that no longer serve you, beliefs that no longer serve you, something that someone else told you, right, that doesn't fit into the infinite power, the purpose that lies within us. And so letting go of anything that really doesn't serve the greater good for yourself and for others, that's one of his foundation teachings as well. Get out of your own way. That was one that I think Wayne is maybe the first place that I heard this statement, is get out of your own way. He says, stop interfering with your own life. But, really getting out of your own way is, again, ego is in the way. Monkey mind is in the way. And if we can just let go and stop interfering and stop fighting, stop grasping, and surrender to what is supposed to happen, surrender to the synchronicities of your life, then that's when the magic will happen. He also talks, and this is going to be my last one for today, there are a lot of teachings, like I said. And if you have been studying New Age and personal growth and spiritual growth and your own path to enlightenment for however long you have, I know you've come across Wayne Dyer. But the most important one is, how can I serve? So in that, being reverent in your own God's gifts, being reverent about what is your priority, what's your top priority, what is your number one purpose that you came here. People always ask, if you could do anything and it didn't involve money, what would that be? And that's how you find your dharma, maybe. So it can be a path to your dharma. But in his legacy, Wayne was always at the core, in service to humanity, in service to being part of the change, the transition, the great awakening, and so much more. So thank you for watching today. Today's All I Learned From is dedicated to the great Wayne Dyer, who passed away in 2015, but started his career writing books in the 70s. And the very first book, really that people know is Your Erroneous Zones. But there is actually, there are, I should say, actually a couple of other books that he wrote kind of around the same time. The Gifts from AILF, and then I'm trying to pull it up here. There it is. There is a spiritual solution to every problem. So that for me has also been a foundation, in addition to getting into the gap and the power of intention. But thoughts, change your thoughts, change your life. That's another book. Manifest Your Destiny, Inspiration, and then, like I mentioned, is in our bathroom, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. So Thank you for watching today, everybody. And if you haven't seen our previous episodes, hit our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Please share it with your friends. Please join our mailing list so you get all of the content delivered right to your inbox and you don't miss anything. And one love. Be well.